starting. There we go. We're on air now. All right. Yeah. Even though it was boring, I went through and I couldn't even read this. I had to like go back and highlight all this stuff, and I'm still kind of like barely kind of understand what's going on. So I thought maybe we could each read really quickly, take a turn reading each of these people and their background, and then we could pick which one we want, and we'll have a quick discussion, role playing. So I'll go ahead and start. Sid Noble, head of research and development. Sid, head of research R&D, broke the silence. I don't like it, he said flatly, and I'll tell you why. I think we've gone far enough on this teamwork kick. Frankly, a lot of this is fiction, a motivational happy land that doesn't square with how my people really work. The people I hire and develop in this company are primarily scientists with scientific degrees and scientific backgrounds. They're darn good at what they do, and what they do, I think I spelled that wrong. What they do.
Hey, wait, are we recording?
Yeah, we are.
Fab. Cool.
What they do is apply their chemical expertise to a business strategy. They already spend too much time explaining Chem 101 to their other teammates, but something about they spend better in a lab. I want to free them up to work, to do what they do best and what we need them to do most. Most of all, I want to be able to attract and motivate the best and brightest, but I can't recruit them if their pay depends on the performance of other members of a team. If we go this way, we're going to lose our good people and our whole R&D base. This new plan wants to make them team members first and scientists second. I consider that backwards. So that's Sid. Jesse, do you want to go and read Ruth's?
Of course you do, shot back Ruth Gibson, who worked as a chemical mixer of a packaging team and served as a team representative in the meeting. You science guys believe your role of inventing products is much more important than those of the people out there actually mixing the chemicals, pouring them into drums, shipping them out, and selling them. But you don't represent the thinking of other product developers, especially those who are out there on the factory floor. My industrial packaging team now includes Tim O'Brien, who used to work all alone with other scientists in the research laboratory. Now he works as part of our 25-person product packaging team. He likes it. He likes knowing how customers use the materials he designs. He likes knowing what people pay for the product in wholesale. He feels he does his job better because he knows how we build the products, and he actually has a stake in how we, his packaging team, make the products together. Why not tie his pay to how we improve as a team? His skills are valuable only to the degree that our team succeeds in serving our customers. Oh,
and then it's continuation of what she's talking about. This is Ruth still.
Okay. Because I do have a problem with another part of this plan. It ties the performance of my group to that of everyone in the factory by bringing in plant performance. Now, I'll tell all of you here that we know there's still a lot of people who haven't caught on yet. My group is going gangbusters. We're shipping products in 3 weeks that used to take us 3 months. We've cut defects to 1/5 of what they used to be. We've brought the cost down, and we're developing innovations that other teams are picking up on. But these improvements didn't come easily. I worked weekends for close to a year, so did everyone else on my team. Why? Because we bought into the new idea of how this company should work. We like making our own decisions, and frankly, most of us thought that if we had the power to make choices, we could do it as well as upper management, maybe better. And I think we have, but there's something missing here. We haven't seen a raise or payout from all our hard work. Sure, our plant manager is down there every month or so telling everyone in the plant about our successes, but the fact is we're hardly making any more money than we did 2 years ago. This pay plan will make those conditions worse. It's going to punish teams like mine for the failings of others instead of rewarding us for the work we do and have already done. What bonus will my team receive for the progress it's made or will make?
All right. Olivia, do you want to read Miles?
Yep. Miles Haddock, CFO. If I may begin, Miles Haddock, Top Chem CFO. I make exception to Ruth's argument. What she may see as penalty, I see as natural fact of doing business. We are going to face problems, and those problems are eventually going to show up on the company's bottom line. The real question is who should pay for them. Ruth may be frustrated about having to have her pay tied to areas beyond her control, but so what? Why should her team be any different from the others? Who is top Kim, if not the employees of the entire company? Let's imagine that a rise in oil price drives up the cost of ethylene, which drives up the cost of our product. The company takes an across-the-board hit. When this happened 6 years ago, Top Kim protected its employees because we saw pay as fixed costs. We still do, under this plan. Less than 4% of an employee pay is tied to overall company performance. I don't consider that too onerous. After all, upper management has far more of their pay tied to overall performance, up to 60%. Why shouldn't everybody share both the up and the downside? If you ask me, I think we should dramatically increase that aspect.
All right, Shelby.
All right.
Go.
Gus Teller, corporate head of training, cleared his throat loudly and spoke. I agree with Miles about tying pay to the performance of the company, but for different reasons. The benefit of tying a large group's performance to the pay of its members is that it encourages everybody to excel, and it ensures excellence through conflict. You see, productive teams have members who tell each other what works and what doesn't. They teach each other how to work better. The same should hold true for teams. Good teams need to raise the level of teams that haven't caught on. Why can't a member of Ruth's team invite somebody from plastics out for a beer after work and discuss what plastics could do better? This plan has that built into it. You won't have people working together unless there's an incentive for them to do so. I see that built into this plan. In fact, I would make more pay dependent on how well teams teach each other teams useful skills.
All right, I'll read the last one. Bill Purcell, team leader from Polymers. Bill Purcell cut in, please Gus, let's be real. Do you think any one of us has time, let alone desire, to take people out for beers and tell them how to do their jobs? Oh, sure. Hey, Al, how's your wife? Heard you went travel to Yosemite last month. And oh, yeah, I wanted to tell you, your team, how you should start thinking about purchasing materials. I don't think so. Look, I don't have any problems with the plan put forward, but Top Chem still has too many people who can't and won't get on board. We're spending too much time and money trying to train them. You talk about cutting down on bureaucracy, but we still have almost as many employees as we did 4 years ago. I say the alternative plan, the alternative to a plan like this is to reduce the entire workforce by 15% through voluntary severance. Those who won't change will leave. Then maybe we can think about a pay plan like this. All right, so there's only 3 of you, and I'm supposed to be like the guy Gilbert. So, and there's 5 roles. So pick the one that you want to play. Any preferences there, Bill?
I could actually take 2. I could do team representative and team leader since they're kind of both the same.
Okay, so you'll be Bill and
Ruth.
Ruth. Okay, so they've got a somewhat different perspective, so you'll do great. Olivia, Jesse, which ones do you want?
Sid.
Okay. All right, so Olivia, you're Sid, and there's Miles, and what was this? Oh,
Gus.
And Gus left. Do you have a preference, Jesse?
I'll take Gus.
All right, great.
Yeah.
So, Miles was the CFO who liked it. So, all right, we'll just keep that in mind. All right, welcome to Top Chem Pay Committee meeting. I'm Gilbert, and I forgot his last name. As you know, Sam Verdi has asked me to lead this committee. Although I worked hard on the initial pay plan, I realized no pay plan will be successful without support from employees. I want to get your input so we can create a pay plan that will be best for everyone. All right, so now we're going to brainstorm ideas for a better pay plan, playing your different roles. So we get to come up with about 20 of them. So in your role that you're playing, which pay plan were they suggested?
All right, let's see. Bill.
Ruth and Bill and Sid and Gus. Wait, was it Sid and Gus?
Let's see. So from Ruth's perspective, what my understanding of the situation is that they have a new pay plan and that everybody hates it, and so they're trying to get together and do a 2.0 pay plan with input. But we're still kind of in the middle. So I guess one of my ideas is cash out bonuses for people who have met the metrics already. So from Ruth's perspective, her team has been working the plan and it has been working. So they should bonus or cash out people who have already met the metrics and when they change it over. So it's not like, yeah, we worked so hard and we got nothing out of it and then they just changed it. It's no, we worked hard, we met it, we got paid, and they're changing it. And so we're going to get paid more.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruth. Sid, Gus, or what was that other guy's name that you're doing, Shelby?
Bill?
Bill. Sid, Gus, or Bill, got any ideas?
I have an idea from Bill as well. I like the I like it reducing the workforce. They claim they're bloated. They claim they have costs. Then you can start. It's like they in Good to Great, which is a management, one of those highfalutin management books. When they say building a team, you put the right people in the right seats on the bus, and only then do you decide where you want the bus to go, based on the input of the people on the bus. But if there's people who are not interested in having pay tied to performance, then maybe this isn't the place for them. And we give them a, hey, we'll severance you out and call it good. Zappos pays people to quit within the training period.
Thank you, Bill. Sid or Guts, you got anything for me? We need to come up with about 20 of these.
So from Sid's perspective, you should pay people according to what their job title is. If you were hired as a scientist, you should be paid as a scientist. If you were hired as a mixer, then you need to be paid as a mixer. Because you're there to do your job, and yes, that helps the team, but you should be paid according to what you're doing and your skill level.
Thank you, Sid. Gus?
So Gus likes the idea of paying everyone by teams. And I think he's more focused than everyone as a whole, like teams helping teams. So, but I don't really know how that differs from what we have currently. Because the pay plan now is 25% affected by team, how your team does. So I guess maybe he would have it even more and more dependent on how your team does as a whole, and even less on what you do individually. But instead, yeah, pay more on how the team does, so it is an incentive for everyone on the team to better work together and help each other.
Awesome. All right. Now, outside of the box of those ideas, Ruth, Bill, Sid, and Gus, can you give me some more ideas that may be different than the ones that you've already thought of? Or a combination or a slight variance of what we've already talked about?
I was thinking maybe a joint bonus program. If they're really trying to get integration and incentive is how it's going to work, maybe get, like, if these two teams develop this and work together and reach this metric, there's a bonus, but it goes across departments.
Awesome.
When we were reading the other thing, it talked about how when you set goals, you need it to be focused on like the customer. So changing like what your key indicators are, basically. Because right now it's just, well, how fast did we produce it and what was the quality that we produced? But is that really what the customers want? So just making sure that the indicators that you're basing the employees' pay on is really things that will help the customer overall.
Awesome. So I suppose I can give an idea of what was that guy's name? Gotta look real quick. Miles Haddock, the CFO. He argued, so from Miles' perspective, he argued that they shouldn't be less tied to performance, but actually more, because upper management was tied to about 60%. So from Miles' perspective, or increase percentage of pay that is tied to performance. Any ideas besides these?
I think maybe we try to focus on, for the next little bit, incentives or brainstorming ideas. Well, it's for a pay plan, but is there a way we can integrate non-monetary things like extra time off, or some other sort of incentive besides pay that we can integrate into it, at least partially?
Yeah, I was gonna say something along those lines, but I was like, oh, we have to stick to a pay plan, because I know in there they said in that second document that people want to have fun at work and they want to like feel accomplished. So focusing more on like making work more enjoyable for people, and maybe putting like an incentive on behavior like towards one another, and not necessarily getting paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like changing the culture.
Well, maybe we can quickly talk about those 5 different points of view and what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because we've got Sid at the beginning, who is talking about being paid according to job title. The teamwork aspect is not attractive for some job sets or some skill sets, like scientists. So, well,
pros and cons of that.
Yeah, pros and cons of that. Pros and cons of each of these points of view. Like what's the pro of that? What's the con of that?
Well, I think Ruth's point of view had a good part about that. She says, like, my industrial packaging team now includes this guy who used to work all alone with the other scientists. Now he works as part of a 25-person packaging team, and he likes it. So what about, like, maybe once a month, these guys, the people who are, like, the flat food professions, as we call them, you just push food or pizza underneath the door and then, like, code or, accounting stuff comes out and, like, no interaction's necessary. But she has a good point, is we've done this. He likes it. He likes knowing how customers use materials he designs, and, because he understands how it's used in real life functionally, he can improve the product. So why are we not saying, yeah, once a month, you flat food profession people, or really anyone, you need to visit a department either upstream or downstream from you, so you can get a more functional idea of how this company works. And I'm not sure if that's part of the pay plan or whatever, but if that's what we're really trying to do, and this is what we're trying to incentivize people to do, working in time and expectations of traveling up and down the production stream or the business stream, the business process, I think would be useful.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely a pro and con there, because the cons of doing the payment based on job title is that there's no interaction between the two separate areas, and that interaction is valuable. And so, yes, they're scientists, but they can branch out a little and understand some of the other people that are part of the process. I agree. So
I was doing a Starbucks write-up for another company or another class sometime, and they've got a policy where every single person that Starbucks hires works as a barista for 6 weeks before they start their job for which they were hired.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, if you're paid to be an accountant, you're still making coffee for 6 weeks, so you understand what it makes everything pay the bills.
Right. The cogs and all of that. That's certainly an important part. So from Ruth's point of view, she's got some really great ideas there. All right. How about from, who was it? We had Miles. From Miles' point of view, any pros and cons here of his argument? About he's more pro having it tied to teamwork. What pros are there? What cons are there?
Well, I think a major con is when you have a flat tire on your group.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just doing group projects at school, like, I had an experience this week with my science group where 2 of the kids just copied and pasted in, like, the information into the presentation slide. Wow. And I was in charge of, like, turning it in, and I turn it in, and it's like, your presentation is 60% plagiarized. And so, like, I had to go through and reword all of their slides so that I didn't get dinged for it. And we had gotten dinged on the previous presentation, but it was, like, too far past, and I didn't have time to go and fix it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So I've seen it, like, from the really bad standpoint, when you have people on your team that are just not pulling their weight or, you know, for whatever reason, it's so frustrating. And especially if it was, you know, someone on the team that their paycheck, they're living paycheck to paycheck. They have to have every dollar. They can't afford to be on a team that has, you know, those flat tires on it. So I could see why they would be really upset. Like, no, I can't have my pay, you know, the bread and butter of my family dependent on these other people that I work with. I think it's going to ruin relationships within the company.
Yeah. So I completely agree. And this guy down here, Bill, or no, Gus, this guy who's like, what does he say here? You won't have people working together unless there's incentive for them to do so. And after we read about motivation this week, about how dangling that carrot in front of them, just when it's for just a remedial task or a cut and dry thing, yeah, that works. But a lot of this, it doesn't. This industry sounds like there's more innovation that is needed, and so giving them this incentive isn't really going to motivate them anymore, just like we learned this week. And so I don't agree with Gus's mindset at all. I feel like that incentive to work together is just not right. If they were able to do that on their own accord, without that carrot dangling in front of them or without them being forced to do so, I think it would work better.
I kind of thought of like Gus's point of view from like when you go to school, like I think in class is the best way to make friends, right? Because you're forced to be sitting next to all these people that are your same age. And like if I didn't go to high school, I might not have known all those people that I knew. So I feel like it's putting the employees in a place where they at least have to think about being a team member and like being a team rather than just focusing on what you're doing. So I see that part as being good, but I also see the flat tire aspect. And I think there would need to be something in place to watch out for that. Like strictly watch out if people are not contributing, and then get rid of them.
So here's another idea, kind of going off what you said. So what if pay was based, or how do I say it? Say employees are guaranteed, their salary or whatever, but any team work and like successes in that way would be like extra
Yeah.
pay. So they were still guaranteed to get their salary, and it wouldn't be punishment. Like it wouldn't be
right.
Taking that aspect away from it, the penalty.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
Okay.
So what if there were, if we're trying to get cross-team, cross-department improvements, what about maybe an annual contest, and that's just a running thing, that has to be 2 or more departments, and they have to come up with an idea that saves the company a substantial amount of money, whatever you would consider to be a meaningful change or whatnot. And they go, they have to work together to come up with the idea, just like Ruth people have. They have basically Ruth's team is the one that bought in to this new system, and they proved it could work because they were successful. They did bring down costs. They did increase innovations. So what if there's a running annual contest, 3 winners, has to be across at least 2 departments, and it's a substantial amount of money. However much money we can prove you saved the company, you get that bonus that year. And it's split between all the people in the department that won the prize. So you get the improved process that you can use for several years, and you only have to pay out how much money it saved to those people in bonuses once.
Okay, that's great.
But it's substantial enough that departments would work for it, and they would work cross department. If there's a $100,000 bonus that you get to put out strictly in bonus money to the employees who come up with it, and then you get the cost savings for the next 10 years you use that idea.
Heck yeah. That sounds great. All right, so we kind of talked about the pros and cons. Who would be happy and who wouldn't? It sounds like not everybody's going to be pleased in this situation, in my thought. So you can't please everybody.
I think the flat tires would probably not like it because other people will start holding them to account, not just one boss who can't be standing over them all the time.
Right. Absolutely. And then those who would like it would be the team member, the ones who like to work as a team, like Ruth's team, it sounds like. But
yeah, the ones that are already implementing it.
They're used to that mindset. So, all right, which is better, guaranteed pay that is same for all employees based on market rates, and or seniority incentive pay that is linked to performance. So thoughts on that?
Good to be the same for all employees.
I think either sounds good.
Is it black and white? Is it?
I think you need to blend the two. Like, when you do, like, if we bought groceries like we bought stocks, we would literally be walking through the grocery store as the prices changed on the shelves.
Right.
I don't think that's the most stable way to do things.
Yeah. All right. If you could use the incentive pay system, how much pay should be based on performance? How much should be guaranteed?
I'm not sure. What are they at? What are they at? 4% right now?
Yeah, 4% doesn't seem like that much. It really doesn't.
I was gonna do it like 10. Like, we'll do it as a tithe. That's fine.
I feel like no matter what system they choose, they need to be better about educating the people on what it all entails. Because I felt like the system that he presented, it was very vague. It didn't really express, like I said, these are variable based on this and this, but I feel like he needed to go in more depth about this is how we're going to measure it and when we're going to measure it. And so that there's that, I feel like because they didn't understand it enough, that's why there was so much.
That's why they push back. Yeah.
Right. Because they didn't understand it. They're afraid that they're just going to lose money off of it. But if you educate them about it, then...
I think you're right. Like giving some PowerPoints and showing how it worked in other areas, and like, this is what they started at. They actually ended up making more money because they excelled as they worked together. Yeah. Selling it a little bit better. The presentation of it.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. And I think they need to show the metrics that they are using to calculate these things.
And give an example of it, saying, okay, take Ruth, for example. Her team under this pay plan would have made this much versus like current salary, like making it personal for each employee, like showing them this is what you currently make, but this is what you would make under the new system.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I
think also,
yeah. Go ahead.
I think people would be worried that like management wouldn't keep up with this, and maybe their work would go unnoticed. So I think, I don't know, somehow getting across that like this is a serious thing and that people will keep up with it.
In my house, we have what's called the Please Clap board. And it's basically, hey, if you want recognition for something awesome you did, put it up on the board. We'll cheer you on. We're all got different schedules going every which way. We can't all do that. So here's how we figured out the way to, compliment and encourage each other. And it's called the comment suggestion box at work. But I think maybe if there's some way that people can just kind of, like we're brainstorming here, they could open up a brainstorm there, import the ideas, and see what are they looking at from the floor. What does this look like to them? I've learned that is a very important question to ask people a lot. What does this look like to you? What does success look like to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually something my sister asks in interview when she interviews people for employment. She says, what does the ideal position look like to you? And she can see how close the reality of what they're asking that person to do matches with what their idea of what they would consider an ideal job or a successful job.
Right. That's really smart. All right. If you could use an incentive pay system, is it better to tie pay to individual performance, team performance, company performance, or a combination? I kind of think we already talked about that, the mix of the two.
Yeah, it's the combination, and everyone needs to know how it's being measured. And there was another write-up I did with JetBlue. Yeah, it was the airline company JetBlue, and the person they were doing that from the perspective of had worked at Southwest for quite some time, and she'd gotten them up and helped get them up and running and stuff like that. And what they did was they did their mission statement, or like, what do we want to do as a company? And they took the additional step of using the company mission to define the metrics by which they measured success.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, let's keep going. Will incentive pay increase employee motivation? Why not? I don't know. After what we learned this week, I'm saying, what kind of motivation are you wanting? Are you wanting just rote, like labor work, or are you wanting creative work?
I would say yes. I'd say yes, it will, to a point. I mean, people care about money, but not, as we learned, not that much, because they also want to feel like they're doing something with their lives.
Right.
You know?
And I kind of agree with that. I feel like once compensation is not an issue anymore, and people feel like they're being fairly compensated for their work, then above and beyond that, I don't know that incentive pay is really going to work. But maybe some other kinds of incentives that aren't monetary, like we talked about. So, all right, let's come to an agreement. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think incentive pay would be more effective if it wasn't used all the time, if that makes sense. Like if they had something that they could work towards, like every other month or something, to get pay, or just randomly throughout the year, I think people would be more motivated than it just always being there as an option.
Yeah. Like, I think employees could do their own kind of assessments, and maybe on their own time, and not necessarily when the employee is expecting it, give those kinds of incentive pay, like a raise, like out of the blue. Hey, I noticed you're doing a good job, you get a raise. And it wasn't because the employee, knew they had to step up their game and they were being watched. It was just they were rewarded, kind of out of the blue. All right, let's choose a solution. So what, after all that we talked about, what can we decide upon?
Should come to an agreement on a pay approach?
Yeah, can we come to an agreement with all these different people that we were talking about, all these different ideas?
Let's see.
Well, I think. Sorry, you go.
Okay. Well, so I think a lot of what we talked about was just having a set base pay, but then having everything above it, like bonuses and that fun incentives or teamwork.
Jesse, were you going to say something?
Yeah, pretty much along those lines. I was going to say, I think we all agree that a lot of it is based on teamwork, but some of it.
Okay, I didn't catch that last little bit of what you said.
Oh, just should at least have something that they
Okay, still struggling. Maybe enter it in the chat. Sorry. Shelby, any thoughts on that?
So I think Yeah, your set base pay, everything above it be incentivized. I think you can have multiple incentives, including but not limited to profitability, profit sharing. And you could do bonuses for like innovation, incentive, working together, do that. But then you also do, hey, if you guys help everybody do well, everybody gets bonus. So rather than like the CFO's like, I think we should tie more performance to pay. And I'm like, how about we do profitability to pay instead? That way it's not just because the CFO's like, well, everybody does it, but upper management gets paid more and they get bigger bonuses. So why don't we just make do profit sharing so everyone gets a piece of the pie that you're talking about?
Yeah, I can see that being a really good thing. I agree. So, all right, awesome. Well, I think we stopped our role play a long time ago. We've been talking about what we really think our best approach is. At least I think we have, right? Any thoughts on that? Any more from what you really think?
Yeah, I think that becoming cloistered and siloed and tribal is actually kind of the base configuration for human psyche. And so we need to overcome that. But I see everyone's still kind of siloed, but there's some people who are like, yep, we've got the goods. And other people are like, hey, we don't like it that way because we don't got the goods. So it's about deciding what you're actually there for.
Right. Okay, any other thoughts before we wrap up?
I think it would just be easier to accept like a team thing if I in the beginning, like from day one when I started the job. I think you're to accept when that's what you're accepting when you accept the job versus you've had guaranteed pay for so long and then turning it to variable pay. So I think if they're gonna implement it, maybe start with the new hires, and you'll have more acceptance.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or make it optional to be part of that. No. All right. So, what's the most important thing you guys learned from this case?
Different ways to incentivize people. I mean, at least in the pay category.
Yeah. Yeah, it was as boring as it was to read. It was good to kind of see these just different perspectives and different approaches to compensation. All right, overall quality of today's discussion.
I thought it was great, and you are doing an amazing job. I hope you're able to just save and submit this assignment as the assignment when we're done.
That's exactly why I did all